Hey students, welcome to World History 2 at the College of Mid-America. This is the spring semester 2020, and today this video will be about the syllabus and the makeup of the class, the structure of the class. That way you'll be all set to go for the remaining of the semester. My name is Zach Sandiford, and I'll be your instructor for World History 2 at the College of Mid-America. Just a background about me: I am a PhD student at Mid-America, and I am working under the supervision of Dr. Mark Thompson, who is my professor of record. And my educational background, just a quick background of that, I have my bachelor's degree from the State University of New York in history. That was my major, history, with a concentration of modern European history. And I have a minor in anthropology. And the modern European history concentration is that's the focus of this course, basically, of World History 2, where we will be covering from the Renaissance time period all the way up through the modern time, which this course will end at September 11th, 2001. Will be our final lecture. But we will cover a vast time period there, and a lot of history takes place between the Renaissance and September 11th. So that's my bachelor's degree. My master's degree, I have a Master of Divinity from Mid-America Seminary, which is the campus that I attended was the Northeast Campus in New York, and I received my Master of Divinity in 2012. After I graduated with my master's degree, I became the pastor of Calvary Baptist Church in Long Island. And from there, I did that for 6 years. I left that church to move here to Tennessee, to the main campus of Mid-America, to begin my doctoral studies. My major for my doctoral studies is practical theology, and I have two minors. I have a minor that I'm working on in church history, and I have a minor in missions. So very busy time of year, but I'm glad that I can be with you and teach you guys this semester, and that way you can move forward in your college journey here at Mid-America with putting history, the history classes under the belt. So today we are going to jump right into the syllabus and kind of the structure of the class. So if you go onto Moodle or Sonus Web, the syllabus is up there for World History 2, and it looks like this. There you go. So if you want to print that out and have that in a notebook or your wherever you have it, it's really good that you can refer to this, because this is going to be the makeup of the class. Now, one thing that kind of irritated me when I was going for my bachelor's degree, especially the State University of New York, very large university. I'd sit in a lecture hall with 300 students. Basically, the teachers' aides, which were basically master's level students, they would hand out the syllabus, and that's all it was. It was up to you to figure it all out, because the professor was just so busy with so many students. Well, I didn't like that. I like this more personal approach, and we're going to run through this in this video, so you have no problems with the syllabus, and no problems with what we're going to be doing in the course and what the requirements are for you in the course, because that's pretty much what it comes down to. You do the requirements, and you'll get your grade for it. So we're going to run through this syllabus. So have this handy as I talk through it. If you don't have it yet, hit pause, go to Sonus Web or Moodle, print it off, and then come back to this video. That way we can work through this here together. So on the syllabus, you'll see it says World History 2. The course number is 4962, spring semester, January 21st to May 20th, 2020. Now, my name is Mr. Zachary Sandiford. I don't have my PhD yet. I'm working on that, about halfway done my PhD studies. But my official position is graduate teaching assistant. So that means I have a professor of record. I can teach. I'm qualified to teach. I've taken all the teaching courses I need. I've taken all the history courses I need to be able to teach. But for me to teach, I have to have a professor over me. And so my professor is Dr. Mark Thompson, who is my professor of record. On the syllabus, you see my contact information, email address, very important. That's the way we communicate back and forth for the majority of the semester. We'll be emailing back and forth different things. You'll be emailing me things, all that. So Z Sandiford, it's Z and then Sand I Ford, Sandiford at mabts.edu, and my phone number is there if you need to get in contact with me over the phone. Please read the entire syllabus carefully. As we go through this and you read through the syllabus, after you're done, you will have to send me an email at that email address saying, I read the syllabus and I understand the syllabus, and then send off that email because that's that's actually confirmation that I know that you understand the syllabus. So don't forget that. You've got to email that to me. If you don't email it to me, I'm going to be emailing you and saying, hey, where's your statement that you understand the syllabus? All right, so the course description and rationale, you can read this kind of on your own, but we're going to look at the developments of the world from the 15th century, which is the Renaissance, to the present day through September 11th, and we'll investigate civilizations, origins, cultures, governments, tenures, religions, contributions, etc., etc. You'll see the course objectives there. You can read through those yourself. There are 7 course objectives, which all syllabi have those kind of course objectives on them. So just read through that. Okay, so as I've said, the professor availability and accessibility, as I said, this is an online course. This is the same syllabus for in the classroom for the class that I teach in the classroom. So contact me through the email. We can do majority of that stuff can be done through email, and I'm pretty good at the email. I check it 3-4 times a day. Get back to you usually the same day I get back to you, unless it's like you email me late at night. Okay, so the required textbook, you have one textbook that you are required to have, and that textbook is your one for the class, and it's also the one for your reading. For your degree, you need to have 500 pages to read in the bachelor's level for this class. So the textbook that you'll have to read is this one here. Traditions and Encounters, A Global Perspective on the Past, 6th edition, and it's from 1500 to the present. So it says it right up there, 1500 to present. So make sure you have that. If you were in my class in the fall, then you use version 1 of this. Now we're in version 2, or volume 2, volume 2. So make sure you get this textbook because you're going to have the reading out of that textbook. That takes us to the reading section here on the syllabus. So make sure you follow the syllabus reading schedule. It's on Moodle. In fact, it's on Moodle. It's in blue font for every week. You have weekly reading. Not every week. There's some weeks that you don't have any reading at all. That's a good time to catch up or read ahead or wherever you're at. But it's going to be in blue font on Moodle. So that's your reading assignment. At the end of the syllabus, there's a paper that says I've did the reading or what percentage of the reading that you've done. Forget about that paper on the syllabus. What I'm going to do is I have a question on the final exam. It's the last question on the final exam, and it says what percentage of the reading did you complete? So if you only did half the reading, it's 50%. If you did all of the reading, it's 100%. And that grade will be your reading grade. That percentage you put in will be your reading grade for the course, because there's a reading grade, and you'll see that. So if you do all the reading, you'll get 100% for that, and that's like 10% of your final grade. So keep up on the reading and don't fall behind. But there is some built-in times to catch up, because there's a couple weeks that there's not any reading at all. But when I'm saying that, the reading it's pretty lengthy for the week. You might have 40 to 50 pages for the week. So again, stay up on the reading. Okay, next is the research paper. So you have reading to do, you have research paper to do, and actually what it is, it's 2 research papers, 5 pages each, instead of one like 10-page paper. You're going to do 2 research papers, 5 pages each. One paper will be on a person in the time period that might interest you and you want to research them and write about them. And the other one is going to be on an event that takes place in the time period that we're covering. So think about those types of things. So if you're really into the Second World War and you want to do a paper on the Battle of the Bulge, then you can do that as the event. And if you're really into Victorian England and you want to write a paper on Queen Victoria, then you can write a paper about that person, or Queen Victoria. Whatever interests you. It's up to you, your choice. You're the one writing the paper and doing the research, so you go ahead and knock yourself out with doing these papers. So you'll see the requirements: 2 5-page papers. All papers are going to be turned in with Times New Roman font. Okay, Times New Roman font, and it needs to be 12, font number 12. It also says Cambria on there if you want to use that. I always use Times New Roman. It's the standard. It's what I've always used, and it works out well for me with spacing. Papers are double-spaced. Don't turn anything in with a single-spaced an entire paper. Now, if you use a block quote in your paper, meaning you've copied from the book, like I believe it's like 5 sentences or more, or 5 lines. Check your MLA on that. But if you need to put a block quote in there, block quotes are always single-spaced. Okay, so you have your paper, double space, double space, double space, and then you're going to do a block quote. That quote is single-spaced. And then you go back to your double spacing. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So the papers are double-spaced. As you see there, the papers are not just a summary or a review of the events. Okay, you need to evaluate the event. You show some analysis, and what that means is you come up with your thesis statement, and then you prove your thesis. So let's say your paper is about the Battle of the Bulge during the Second World War. Well, that was when the Battle of the Bulge ended, it showed the how weak the German military really was. They did this last-ditch effort push to break through the Allied lines, and that caused a bulge in the Allied lines. That's why it's called Battle of the Bulge. And the German military was just shown to be really weak. So if your thesis is the Battle of the Bulge shows that the German military was not prepared for this type of offensive, and then that's your thesis. And then you say something like, there are 5 reasons why they weren't prepared or weren't effective, or whatever you choose to then explore. But let's say it's 5 reasons that show this, and then you go through those reasons. The first reason is, and you write a paragraph on it, or 1 or 2 paragraphs. The second reason is, and maybe you write 3 paragraphs on it, and then before you know it, you've knocked out 5 pages. So make sure that you structure your paper that way and kind of analyze what's going on. Don't just say the battle. Don't just tell the story of the Battle of the Bulge. You want to explain it out, and that goes with all of your topics. Explain it out. Why was Queen Victoria such a great queen? Why? What did trench warfare in World War I show? The state of military affairs. They went men running against machine guns. They just didn't have the mindset. They were still thinking like an old mindset of military against modern equipment and modern weapons. So just kind of explore these things and write papers, again, of your interest, but kind of proving and analyzing the information to support your thesis. Okay, so that's a research paper. Continuing on. Another thing about the research paper, side note, is do not use, some students had some problems with this in the last semester, do not use personal pronouns in research papers. Okay, don't say I, don't say you or we, any of that. That does not belong in a research paper. It's just putting the facts in there. So if you say I think or I believe, no, that's like a position paper. Research papers, you're just kind of, this is the thesis that you've come up with, and this is proving the thesis. Okay, so please don't use personal pronouns in research papers. Okay, you'll write the research paper according to MLA. That's the standard for the college here at Mid-America, so MLA format. Minimum of 4 sources. Okay, 4 sources. half of those must be books, okay, which means you can't use all internet sources. It's okay to use some internet sources. You can use 2 of them, but the other 2 must be books. And in the bibliography, it can't be a book. The books you use, they have to be hardcover books. Okay, so the bibliography will tell me that. It'll have a hardcover book. It'll have the publisher and the information and all that stuff. Electronic books are fine and all that, but what's happening is where students are missing out on the detail of library experience, and you're like, well, what do we need the library for? Well, the library is more than just a click and just kind of finding something. Believe me, I do a lot of research online too. You find that one little thing and stick it in your paper or whatever. That's a whole lot different than going and getting the book and seeing the book and the chapters of the book and all of that. So 2 of the sources must be hardcover books, and it should say that in the bibliography, that the way you format that entry for the bibliography, because an electronic book, you're gonna have some kind of a website or some kind of a URL where you got that from. So it must be hardcover books for 2 of the sources. The other 2 sources can be electronic books. Do not use blogs. Do not use Wikipedia. Okay, Wikipedia is pretty good. It's really advanced from when it first came out. I remember when Wikipedia came out and it was not good. But don't use blogs and do not use Wikipedia for your sources. That's not gonna cut it. Next, on your syllabus, you must use Grammarly. That is a requirement for students at Mid-America. You should have received Grammarly from Mid-America. If you're a new student, Campus Life, I believe, Campus Life Office, they have a code that you can get the version of Grammarly you need for free because of this code. And what you do is you type up your paper in Word. You run it through Grammarly yourself, and it'll give you a score, a Grammarly score. Okay, let's say you run it through and it gives you a score of 70. Okay, that means that there's some errors, and you have to go through and correct them. Grammarly will tell you what the correction should be. It's so simple. The ones that doesn't help is like wordiness. If you have a sentence that's long and wordy, it's not going to give you a new sentence. It'll say, consider revising. Passive tense sentences, it won't correct them for you. It'll just say it's passive tense, and so then you have to make it where it's not a passive tense. Okay, so Grammarly is good to help you out with definitely spelling and grammar, punctuation, all that. But when it comes to some of the stuff, you will have to go in and actually rewrite that sentence if you want to fix that. When you're done Grammarly, it'll give you a score again at the top. It's always kind of correcting the score going up as you do the corrections. And if you're getting if you submit the paper with a Grammarly score of 95, you're good to go. And all that does just show me that you ran it through Grammarly. So what happens is you send me the paper, email it to me by the date on the syllabus, which I'll say here in a minute, and I will take your paper in Word and stick it through Grammarly, and that'll give me the same score because it's going to do the same thing that you did when you finish with Grammarly. And if it comes up and it's like 95, great, no problem. I can clearly see that you ran it through Grammarly and we're good to go. But if you send me a paper and I run it through Grammarly and I get a score of like 60, okay, it's going to say all the errors. It'll tell me all the errors that are in the paper. And that paper is not going to do. Okay, the college requires Grammarly so that it cuts out on all of this grammar mistakes and everything. So what happens is I'm going to send the paper back to you and you have to make the corrections. But the problem is that there's a due date, and if you send me a paper, let's say on the due date, like at 11:55 p.m. on the due date, and I run it through Grammarly the next day, you're going to get a late penalty because you have to go back and fix it and then send it back to me, and it just takes time. So just spend finish the paper a day early, run it through Grammarly, make the corrections, then on the due date send it to me. It's that simple. So mark it on your calendar, Grammarly, history paper, Grammarly, or something like that on the day before it's due. Do the corrections and send it off to me. You'll be good to go. It's just things we have to do. Just things we have to do for college. You see the due dates there. The first paper is due on Friday, March 6th. And the second paper is due on Tuesday, May 5th. So middle of the semester, end of the semester. Okay, again, as it says there, it needs to be sent to me at my email address in a Word document. Don't send me a PDF. If you send me a PDF, I'm just going to send it back to you and say, send it to me in Word, because PDF, Grammarly will not correct a PDF. It's got to be Word. Plagiarism, very important. Plagiarism, don't do it. So what is plagiarism? It means you've taken someone else's work and put it forward as your own. And Grammarly will give you a plagiarism score in your paper. Now, here's the thing. Plagiarism is where you take someone else's work, use it as your own, and you don't give them credit for it. So when you do your paper, if you are quoting somebody, you have to give them credit. You have to do the citation. If you do a block quote, you have to do a citation. But if you do a paragraph and you don't quote anybody in there, and there's nothing from direct words from a book onto that paragraph, you still have to cite that paragraph. Where did you get that information from? At the bachelor's level, none of you are out doing original research where you're like going to England and looking through archives and finding a letter from Queen Victoria to her husband Albert, and you're not doing any of that kind of original research. You're getting your information from somewhere. So you need to say where the information from that paragraph came from. So you put that in a citation at the end of the paragraph, even if there's no quotes in it. Okay? So what happens is, when you finish your paper, you have all kinds of citations through it. I know, hey, you got all of this information from these authors. Okay, no problem. Now, if you use a block quote or a quote within your paper and you cite it, great. But Grammarly is not going to pick up on those quotes. Okay, so Grammarly, they check all online, billions of sites or whatever. They check on that, and they'll give you a plagiarism score. So let's say you write your paper and 10% of it is plagiarized. That's what it'll come up as. It'll say 10% plagiarized. That's fine as long as you have quoted, or cited the quotes, if you cite the quotes. If you turn in a paper and there's no citations in it, in fact, last semester I had a paper turned in and there was not one citation in the paper. I don't know where the person even got the information from. And I sent it back to them. They incurred several days of late penalties because it was now late. They sent it to me again, and it was like very skimpy citations. It was like half the paragraphs weren't even cited. There were some quotes that weren't cited. So anyway, the student didn't do very well in the grade. You've got to pay attention to that. Okay, we're adults now. We're not in high school. We're not we are doing the real deal. This is college work, and so we got to stick with it. Okay. So that's the requirement there for the research paper. Good to go. Again, any questions, just shoot me a quick email with the question, and I'll do the best I can to answer the question. Course requirements. Okay, so there's 4 exams, 60% of the grade. Okay, so that means they're 15% each. And they're non-cumulative exams. Okay, so what it is, I'll start teaching and we'll go to the exam, and that's what is on the exam, just that section. And then exam number 2 is from the end of 1 to 2, it's just that section. Okay, so it's not cumulative, it's just that section, and we move on. A lot of multiple choice. Some of the, I'm not sure yet, I'm still thinking it through about putting some short answer on the exam, but rest assured, don't worry about it. I will give you a study guide before the exam. A lot of times the questions on the study guide you'll see on the exam. So if you just run through that study guide, answer the study guide, and study that, you should have absolutely no problem with the exams at all. Again, in the fall, many students did very well in the exams. All right, so you see the dates there. Exam 1, February 12th. Exam 2, April 2nd. Exam 3, April 23rd. Final exam, May 19th. There's such a large break between the exam 1 and 2 because of spring break is in there. It's a long spring break this year, so there's a big block of time we're not even having class. So that's why there's such a break between the first 2 exams. Okay, you see there about the being present for the exams. That really doesn't apply to you in regards to being online. For online students, and this is in Moodle, this information is in Moodle, but I'm going to tell you now, for online students, you must have a proctor for your exam. And what that means is you have somebody that will give the exam to you at your location or wherever you guys set it up at. So the first thing you have to do in week 1 is get a proctor. There's a proctor form on Moodle. So print out the proctor form and give it to your proctor. The proctor has to read it, understand it, and sign it, and put their email address on it. Okay, please have them write their email address on the form. And then that form needs to be sent to me, scan it, take a picture of it, whatever, and send it to me to the email, at my email, letting me know who your proctor is. So what happens is the Sunday before the exam, Sunday night, I do a lot of my work Sunday night, late, usually it's like 9 p.m. I do it. Sunday night, 9 p.m., around then, I will send the exam to your proctor. And they'll have it Monday morning. They open up their email, and there it is. And then they'll print it off. They'll tell you, hey, I have the exam. And then you come in and you take the exam either before or on the exam date that is in the syllabus. And then I give the proctors 1 extra day because they have to scan the exam and then send it back to me. And then I grade it and I give you the grade. So that's the time. So if your exam is on, let's say the exam is on a Thursday, your proctor will get it on Sunday night, Monday morning, they might open it, let you know, and you have basically from Monday until Thursday to take that exam. And then Thursday, whenever they have till Friday to get the exam back to me. No problem. What I don't want to happen is students saying, oh, I didn't know or whatever, and it's like the day of the exam and they're not ready for it. The dates are in the syllabus. Stick to those dates. You get your proctor, talk to your proctor about that. Last fall, a lot of the students that were online, they took the exam at their church, with the church secretary being their proctor, their pastor being their proctor. But what it is, it can't be a family member, it can't be another college student. I can't remember what there was the third one. But just look on Moodle. There's the requirements for who they can be and all of that. So make sure they're the right people. If you are local to Mid-America, if you live nearby here and you're just taking an online course, you might even be a student here at the campus. I don't even know, but you're just taking this online. Contact me and I'll be your proctor. Just come in that day of the exam and take it with the class. That's perfectly fine. There was an online student that did that before. They took the exam with the classroom students. No problem. Worked out well for that student. Okay, so those are the exams. Next requirement is the reading assignments, which I've already said, 10% of the grade. It's your responsibility to keep up on the reading of the textbook. Number 3 is the research papers. I've already went through that, but you see that they're 30% of the grade, 15% of the final grade. Notice the bold at the bottom of page 3. Failure to turn in any research paper will result in an automatic F for the class. Research papers are very important. College is writing, okay? Yes, we take exams, and it might think, oh, it's all about exams. But when you progress in college, it's going to be more and more about the writing. Professors in an entry-level class like World History 1 or 2, yes, you have to give back the information, what you've learned. But when it comes to higher level classes, professors don't just want you to regurgitate the information that they told you. They want to see you really working through some problems and working through some topics and all of that and analyzing it. And that's going to come through in research papers and in writing. So we want to help you get better at writing. So if you're like, well, I got 100 on this exam and 100 on that exam and 100 on that, well, I can just get a 0 on this top. I won't even turn in this paper because it'll be a 0 and I'll still pass the class. No, that's not going to cut it. You've got to do the work. Okay, so you have to do the research papers. If you don't turn in a research paper, then you see what's going to happen there. with an F for the class. That came from my professor of record. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Grading scale, we are on a 12-point grading scale. You see it there, A+, 97 to 100. You can go all the way down to 60 to 62 and still pass the class. That's a D-. Anything below 59 and below is an F. But think about that for a second. You're paying for this, or somebody's paying for it, but you're paying for this, and you have to do the work. Okay, really strive to do well. And I know everyone wants to do well, but really strive to do well. You don't want to get an exam back after studying and taking all these notes and studying, and you get an exam back and it's a 60. It's not. There should be no call for it, especially when I give you a study guide or a review sheet to go over. Think about this in regards to medicine, and you have a surgeon. Let's say you're having some kind of a surgery, let's say brain surgery. You don't want your medical doctor to be like, well, yeah, in class I got a 60 in brain surgery. It's kind of funny, facetious that we say it like that, but it's kind of the same thing. You're investing the time and effort and money and learning all into this. Really strive to do well. There shouldn't be any reason why you shouldn't do well in this class. It's an entry-level class, no problem. Okay, class attendance doesn't really apply to you online because you just take the class, do the classes at your leisure throughout the week, except those exam dates, and make sure you're there for those exams with your proctor. Late work. That's obviously the papers. Don't do it. Just keep ahead of it. Put things on calendars, and you'll be okay. But if it's turned in late, it's gonna be 5-point deduction every day. So I require it to be in by midnight of the due date. So if it's 11:58 and you send it to me, you're good to go. If it's 12:01, I'm sorry, I didn't make the clock. It's the way it is, and obviously the email will be time stamped. So, I try to give grace where grace is needed, and all that. Now, if it's like 5 days late and you haven't contacted me, and I'm like, hey, where's your paper? And you're like, oh, I haven't done it yet. Yeah, that's on you. I'm sorry. 5 points a day, and it adds up quick. Okay, so that's late work. Class conduct, again, doesn't really apply to you too much at home or where you're taking your online course. Okay, so the class schedule and reading assignments. This is a breakdown of the lectures, the class lectures online. On Moodle, it'll say session 1. I'll talk about Moodle here in just a second, but it'll say session 1, session 2, session 3 for the week, and that's what it'll basically line up with these entries here for the weeks. So introduction to the course, January 21st, a syllabus overview. January 21st is a Tuesday, so my birthday, by the way, but it's a Tuesday, and I'll be going over the syllabus in class with the students. So you don't have to watch it on Tuesday. You can watch it on Monday. You can watch it on Wednesday. You can do all 3 sessions, whatever. We try to have you log in to Moodle at least 3 times a week. So, you can watch all the videos in one day if you wanted, whatever. It's up to you. You can watch them all on Friday if you want. Just make sure you don't fall behind. So you see the first week, syllabus, then Renaissance 1 and Renaissance 2, and you see the reading there. It's like, what is that, 29 pages of reading for week 1. Week 2, January 20th to 30th, is Exploration Lecture 1, Exploration 2, and then the Reformation. We'll begin the Reformation. Week 3, Reformation with Luther, Reformation with Calvin, Reformation with the Anabaptists. So we'll go through all of those, a lecture per. Most lectures that I give are not as long as this video for the syllabus. Most lectures that I give are around 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes even shorter than that, depends on how long the PowerPoint is. So actually, let me just break in there and just tell you about the videos. Lecture videos are basically going to be an introduction with me. You'll see my face, and I'll talk to you about what the lecture is going to be. And behind me will be some kind of a neat historical thing going on, because right now this is in front of a green screen. I have a green screen here in my office, and it's
I just put an image up that's pretty cool, has to pertain to what maybe we're studying. So I'll be here. I'll talk to you. I'll let you know. It's just a quick introduction. It might be a minute long, maybe 2 minutes long, and then we'll merge into a PowerPoint, and I'll talk you through the PowerPoint and kind of teach through the PowerPoint, and all of the exam questions will be coming from those PowerPoints. And then at the end of the video, we'll merge back into me, and I'll give you just some concluding thoughts, and then say goodbye, and then I'll see you in the next video. So that's pretty much how it works for the videos. So week 4, we'll finish up the Reformation, and that'll run us into the exam number 1. Again, I will have a exam study guide on Moodle before the exam, depending on the day. If it's this is on a Wednesday, so I'll probably have it up on Monday for you. If the exam is on a Tuesday, I'm not sure if any of them are on a Tuesday, but if it's on a Tuesday, I'll have the study guide up the week before for you. Okay, so continuing on, Monarchs 1, week 5, Monarchs 2, revolutions. Quite a few lectures on revolutions. Week 6, revolutions. U.S. The Revolutionary War, French Revolution, Napoleon, big time periods there. Okay, and again, there's a lot of information to go over, and we can't hit it all. I mean, when you start thinking about all the kings in England and the kings in France, and we can only kind of hit the surface on some of these things. So we just kind of move through and hit the big ones. But then after week 6, then we move into the modern period of the 20th century. So we have World War I, quite a few lectures on World War I. Very important war. It shattered Europe. It shattered the monarchies of Europe. And what happened was, after World War I, we have a tiny interwar period, and then we go into World War II. Well, when you start looking at what takes place, World War I set up World War II. That's basically what happened. So you have basically from 1914, which is World War I starting, to 1945, World War II ending. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that we've got to cover. It basically sets us up for where we are, pretty much almost till today, because of all the impact that World War I and World War II had on our society. So we see week 7 is World War I, and then spring break, very long, and then week 10 is World War I. Week 11 is March 31st. There, it's after World War I, and then the Great Depression. We talk about some communism, fascism. And then April 2nd is exam number 2. And then we move into week 12. And this is really where I focus a lot of my study for my bachelor's degree. I have a great interest in this time period. I have a great interest in Victorian and Edwardian England, which sets up World War I a lot. And, there's a lot of stuff happened with that. I focus on World War I. Weimar Germany. I did a lot of study on Weimar Germany. That was Germany between the wars. And then the Nazis and World War II. I've done a lot of study on them with the rise of the Nazis, the Third Reich, the establishment of the Third Reich and its power, the Holocaust, and the Second World War. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. You see week 12 is Nazi Germany with Hitler. Origins of World War II. Week 13 is World War II, the theaters, Europe, Africa, the Pacific Theater. Week 14, the final days, post-World War II treaties, United Nations. So you see we were going to cover a lot of material from week 12 to week 14, and it's all basically World War II. And then we have... let's see here. Exam number 3 is April 23rd. After that, we move into the Cold War with Korea, Berlin Wall, Vietnam, Soviet Union, all of that. Actually, Vietnam is week 16, you see there. Soviet Union, and then week 16 is Vietnam. We move into some Middle East issues because that's kind of like where we're at today with the Middle East. Week 17, Gulf War. And then we move into September 11th. And then that'll be it for the semester. We'll have a review. I'll give you a good review guide for the final exam. Final exam is usually a little longer, especially dealing with some of these things that we've been talking about. And the final exam, May 19th at 8 a.m. Again, that's the date on the syllabus. So that's when you have to take it with your proctor or before. I believe that's a Tuesday, so you can take it on Monday if you want. They'll get the exam Sunday night. And then you have the selected bibliography. This is some books that if you want to look at those and see maybe some that interest you for your research paper. Let's say you're really into the English Reformation and Henry VIII and his wives and how some of them were killed and creating of the Church of England. So you have different books there on that. Several books there on the Reformation, World War I. I mean, just a lot of stuff. Winston Churchill, he's a great character to study and look at. What a life that he led. His life is so vast with what he did. You have to break it up into different time periods just for him. Okay, so if you turn to page 11, here's the rubric for the research paper. This is how I grade the research paper. So if you present your ideas well, it has good organization and flow and transitions. Your style is good. MLA is good. You have good citations, good bibliography, formatting, all that stuff. You should do well. But if it's you're missing things, you're missing a source, your punctuation is very poor. Again, this is college level, so you got to have some. And I understand people make punctuation errors, but you need to make sure that you focus on the format of the paper and all. Don't just try to throw a bunch of information on the paper. It has to flow. It has to be organized. Okay, so that's the rubric. If you want to read over that, I know it's the tiniest print in the world to try to see what that even says, but go ahead and look at that. Very important. You have to have a thesis statement. I had a paper given to me last semester, and there wasn't even a thesis statement. I couldn't even tell what the paper was really even about. What were they trying to say? What were they trying to prove? What were they trying to support? There, I couldn't even find a statement. Okay, and then next is that signature page that you understand the syllabus. That's for in class. So all you have to do is email me that you read the syllabus and understand it. And then page 13 is the reading assignment, reading percentage. Again, don't worry about that. The final exam will have a question, what percentage did you read? That's all you have to do. Okay, so that is the syllabus. Now, in regards to Moodle, you're doing everything through Moodle. That's the online platform for Mid-America. So go into Moodle, log in, go to World History 2, and you'll see an introductory block of how the course works. So just read through that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just read through it, and you should have no problem. It'll have a thing on there about the proctor. There's a proctor form on there, or it's already on there. It's just not live to you yet as I'm speaking. It'll be up live this coming Sunday. And then you'll be able to click on that, print it out, take it to your proctor, have them sign it, put their email address on it, email a copy of that back to me, and you'll be all set because that's who I'm going to email your exam to. So then under that, it'll have week 1, or I believe it says week 1. It has the dates, has the topic. It'll say syllabus, etc. Obviously, that's how you got into this video to be able to watch it. And then underneath it will say session 2, and then it'll be watch this lecture. And then session 3. There'll be a reading assignment in blue font for the week, so make sure you do the reading. And then underneath of that, there is a checklist. I'll put a checklist there for you. This is what you have to do for the week, and just go and check that. It just shows your progress, okay? It's helpful. And then there's an interactive forum. Now, you don't have to do anything on the interactive forum unless I tell you to. Sometimes throughout the semester, I might just want to get see how you guys are doing, and I'll throw a question on the interactive forum, and just answer that question. Sometimes it's about a reading. There's blocks in the book of like a special reading thing. Like Columbus. What did he? His diary or something. What did you? And I'll just ask what you thought of that. Something that jumped out at you that you thought was interesting, and then just give me a paragraph response for that. So go ahead and pay attention to those interactive forums. It'll say on there if you have an interactive forum. And there's not going to be many of them. Just kind of give you kind of a gauge how you're doing. Real quick paragraph, no problem. And you'll go through that way. I will have Moodle the coming week. I will have live Sunday night. Again, usually around 9 p.m. I have it live, sometime 9-10 p.m. Sunday night, and that'll be for the week that's coming up ahead of you. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to Moodle. See, I'm not sure if there's anything else. SonusWeb is that's where your grades are going to be. You're going to know your grades throughout the semester. I'll be giving you your papers back. I try to grade them in the fastest fashion possible. I don't want to hang on to your tests and exams and papers longer than I have to. So I try to get them back to you as soon as you can, so you'll know your grades. I mean, if you're getting exams that are 95, 100, 98, you're doing pretty well. If you're getting 70s, okay, yeah, you're kind of in the middle there. But so even if the grade is not in SonusWeb, because it just basically gives like a midterm grade and a final grade, we're not going to have a midterm exam. So I don't put the final grade in until the end, and then I email you your grade anyway. So just kind of pay attention to your grades as you go along to see, kind of gauge how you're doing. If you're doing poorly, if you're like doing, you're pulling in 60s. Contact me. I'll probably ask you what's going on. Is this not just didn't study, or you don't understand something? It's multiple choice. Majority of the exams are multiple choice. I'm still thinking about putting a few short answers in there, but majority of the exams are multiple choice, so the answer's there for you. One of those is correct. So I don't know. It shouldn't be any issue, especially after I give you a study guide. So it shouldn't be any kind of an issue with that. Other than that, I think that's it for the introduction with the syllabus. Welcome to the class. I hope you guys have fun with the class. One of the problems with history, I'll say it that way, is that it's a lot of facts. A lot of facts. It's a download of information. I'm giving you the information, and you've got to write it down on notebook or whatever, and then kind of regurgitate it to me on an exam. Again, it's introductory level, but I try to make it as interesting as I possibly can, but it is a lot of information coming your way. There's not a lot of in the classroom. There's not tons of discussion. There's some answering questions, maybe discussing a little bit here and there, and I ask some questions for them to answer in class. But a lot of it is going into basically PowerPoint, and here's the information you need to know. So just stick with it. I know it's long, but it's not going to be as long as this video here. I've really rambled on here. I apologize for that, but you need to know this information. Believe me, the lecture PowerPoint or lecture videos are not as long as this video. You'll be okay. Okay, other than that, I don't think there's anything else. Again, email me if you have any problems. All right, take care.